Susie, that wasn't perfect. So what I actually want to talk about a little bit is moving from the R's that we've traditionally known to a bit of the RE to the CO and collaborate. So first of all, starting with hands, how many of you guys have ever bought something used, pre-owned, pre-loved? Keep them up if you've ever sold something pre-owned, pre-loved. So this is indicative of, I think, where everything used to be, and then we slipped into this little period of hyper-consumption, buying no matter, I remember the days in high school, and Dominic and I have talked about this with fast fashion, where you would walk into an Old Navy or a Gap, and not just one tank top, but 5, in 5 different colors, and they're $2 and $5, and a whole sale rack. And now we're going more into this period of time where we're having the quality, I think you can hear me, where we're having it, for quality more than quantity. So, and this is something that's really exciting to myself and a lot of us that have seen this in the space. So now that I'm at eBay, you guys may be familiar with that marketplace, I sort of look at it as the largest center for redistribution. I see it as a place for matchmaking. I see it as a place that's the original recycler, or one of those. And now we're moving, and I want to ask you, a lot of you that I'm going to work with tomorrow during our social action platform, to look at how we move this to a more collaborative consumption model. So I talked to my dad, who now has a Prius in Portland, and he was one of the first ones to have it. And they used to brag about having a Prius. For some of my friends, you brag about being a Zipster or having a Zipcar account. For the next group, you brag about having a car that you have put on Relay Ride or Get Around, and you're sharing your car. So we're shifting further and further and further to having the resources that we own. It's less about what we own and more about the service and what we can use from that, and also what we can give. So I know you guys watched some of the projects from Story of Stuff and Annie Leonard, and the idea of what you want to get out of a movie or a DVD or a computer. You want to be able to write your paper. You want to be able to research on the internet. You want to be able to email your friends. You don't actually want the metal or the toxins or the materials that are in the product. So this is, I think, where we are so excited about the challenges that have come in from everyone that's entered this and the ideas that you have in your own community and in your schools. What would it look like? I was talking to another girl. What would it look like if you had not a pen pal, but more of a fashion pal in Australia? So my family is Australian. It's summer here, it's winter there. Do I need all my clothes? What if we were to swap? What if we shared? What if we only had one wardrobe between the two of us? What other ideas like that are we looking at, where everything that's sitting idle in your dorm room, in your room at home, at your parents' house, and how can we encourage that to be in movement? And it's less about all the stuff that we need and more about how it's being redistributed. So I'm going to talk just really briefly about one of the projects that we did launch this summer, which some of you may have seen on eBay. And it was a partnership with Patagonia. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Patagonia and their products and their environmental commitment and their ironclad guarantee to create outerwear and jackets that literally last forever. So our sustainability team was meeting with their sustainability team and took a look, and we shared how we approach sustainability. One of the ways we look at it is with this belief that the greenest product is often one that already exists. So this doesn't always work for things like appliances or cars necessarily, but for a lot of products, the greenest thing to do is use something that already exists rather than creating new materials. And when they heard this idea, that was the thing that they were struggling with the end of life cycle for their products. So you've seen, if you've ever been into a Patagonia store, you can bring in an old jacket and they'll recycle it through their Common Threads program. But really, the value of one of those products is so high, you don't want to give it up. So you might not be using that jacket or the pants or whatever you're using twice a year to climb mountains, but you're not also willing just to get rid of it. So partnering, and they helped create a space where their consumers and Patagonia loyalists can resell and relist their old products. And we created that store on eBay. And not only that, but Patagonia is the only brand that would do something crazy enough, like promise to co-list all of the products on their own site. So they now have a used section on Patagonia.com where they take no cut, and they're listing and creating a second market for their goods. And a lot of people thought this was crazy, right? So you're going to encourage people that are coming to your site not to buy the new product, but to take a look at what's available that's used. Pretty revolutionary for a brand like that. What's been interesting, and we launched this October-ish, September, October, has been the increased conversation that Patagonia has been able to have with brand loyalists, consumers, environment, and outdoor enthusiasts. So they're now having a conversation with people who maybe couldn't afford the first price point of Patagonia goods, and now can, and are still talking about how great the product is. They're having conversations with people who are selling 2 or 3 jackets that they no longer need, and coming right back into the store to buy something else that they do need for the next part of their trip. So this is one example of how we're approaching it at eBay, and trying to look at creating a model for collaborative consumption, and get the things that are sitting in your house and your car and your room out and back into the marketplace, giving things a second life, and less about creating new. So the big challenge that I have, and I want to talk more tomorrow with the group that I have on my platform, you guys learned so much the last 30 days about the what we consume, making sure you look at the toxins, what it's made out of, where it's going to end up, where you're buying it, can you buy it locally, who made it. So now moving from more about what we consume to how we consume. And is there something, a different process for that consumption, and a different process for you to hand on to someone else so that they can use it again. Just a quick example that I pulled from some of the categories that we're looking at expanding for eBay. We did a program called Instant Sale, where we brought in electronics recycling, and you can log on to eBay, answer a few quick questions about an old product that you have, and we pop out an offer for an old iPhone or old laptop. And then you get cash back, and it gets redistributed. It gets either resold, or we recycle it through a third-party certified e-steward recycling company. So looking at carrying that message on, and what other categories, what does that impact actually have? So we looked at golf clubs. Believe it or not, it's a pretty big item on eBay. And the purchase of used golf drivers instead of new ones over a 3-year period on eBay avoided the release of 120,000 tons of greenhouse gases. So just to give you some context, that's just about half of what our company's global carbon footprint was in 2010. And that's one category. We have more than 50,000. So looking at that, what's the difference in buying a used handbag? And what's the difference if you have something in your closet or in your possession that you're no longer needing? The difference on your life's carbon footprint, or this year, or your school year, by making sure that that gets continued and gets used again. The last thing I want to say is just with the technology piece. I was so impressed with Project Green Challenge's website that was built. I was with Aaron and Judy in its infancy, going through who's gonna do the design for this, who's gonna code it, how are we gonna get the HTML written and produced and put up, and what a group of teens did in a month to get this thing up and running, and the ability to upload video and transfer back and forth was unreal. I was blown away. And this idea that technology is enabling trust between strangers and able to form groups with such a common purpose, as evidenced by today, I'm just really impressed and excited to see what will come out of some of the brainstorming sessions tomorrow. So with everything that you guys are just talking to the girls this morning that you're not gonna have any room in your suitcases to bring back half of the stuff that you're gonna be getting today from all these great sponsors. But in addition to that, a lot of what I've been talking about in this movement called collaborative consumption, that a lot of you with evidence by hands raised are already participating in. The work's being documented. Rachel Botsman, there's a couple other different groups talking about this, but collaborativeconsumption.com has a lot more information, and there's a book called What's Mine is Yours that all the 12 finalists will have a copy of. So looking forward to chatting more and brainstorming on this further. Thank you.